The night was quiet, wrapped in the kind of stillness that usually brings comfort. But for me, it only brought unease. I had gone to bed around 11, beside my husband, who had fallen asleep almost instantly. His deep, rhythmic breathing echoed across the bedroom while I stared at the ceiling, unable to shake off a strange heaviness in my chest. It wasn't fear, not yet. Just a sense, a whisper of something being out of place. We lived in a modest 2-story home on the outskirts of town. My stepson, Jordan, had recently turned 18, a quiet, observant boy who mostly kept to himself. We'd had our share of disagreements, the usual friction of blended families, but he had never given me any real cause for worry. Then there was Layla, my husband's niece, visiting us for the school holidays. 17, smart, polite, always. Buried in a book or sketching by the window. Dinner had been normal. Spaghetti, a few jokes, a bit of teasing between Jordan and Layla. They seemed to get along well. Maybe a little too well, I now realize. At 2:13 a.m., I checked the clock. Something pulled me from sleep. Not a sound, not a dream, but a shift in the air. My body moved before my mind could catch up, and I gently pulled back the covers. The hallway was dim, lit only by the faint blue glow of the nightlight we kept plugged in near the stairs. I passed Layla's room. Door closed, silence inside. Jordan's door was slightly ajar, but I didn't think much of it. Maybe he went downstairs. For water. I moved slowly toward the kitchen, then paused. The back door. It wasn't shut. It hung open just enough to let in the breeze, carrying with it the faint scent of grass and something else. Sweat, perhaps. I stepped onto the porch, heart pounding now, unsure of what I was expecting. And then I saw them. In the corner of the yard, beneath the faint moonlight, 2 figures moved. At first, I couldn't make sense of what I was seeing, just shapes, shadows tangled together. But as my eyes adjusted, the truth snapped into focus. Jordan, on top of Layla. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to call out, but my voice froze. Layla wasn't moving much. Her hands were pressed flat against the ground, and her face, what I could see of it, looked strained. Not just embarrassed, uncomfortable, maybe even in pain. I didn't know what I was witnessing, but I knew it wasn't right. A wave of dread surged through me, cold and sharp. I took a step back, steadying myself against the porch railing, heart thundering. This wasn't a misunderstanding I could ignore. Something was terribly, deeply wrong. And I had to find out what. "Jordan!" I shouted, my voice sharp and cracking, through the silence like glass. He jolted up, startled and disoriented, his face pale in the moonlight. Layla quickly pulled her shirt down, eyes wide with panic. She didn't say a word. "What are you doing?" I demanded, stepping off the porch and closing the distance between us. Jordan stammered, his mouth opening and closing before a sentence could form. "We were just talking." She couldn't sleep. I glanced at Layla. Her arms were wrapped tightly around herself and she wouldn't look at me. That look, more than any words, told me something was wrong. Deeply wrong. "Inside. Now," I said, trying to steady my voice. They followed without protest. The walk back into the house felt like a blur, the air tense and heavy. I closed the door behind us, locking it, as though the act could seal in the truth and keep the world outside from noticing the fracture in our home. We stood in the living room. I didn't sit. I didn't want them thinking this was a conversation to be softened by comfort. "Layla, are you okay?" I asked gently. She nodded, but it was hesitant. Her eyes darted toward Jordan, then back to the floor. "Tell me what happened, both of you," I said. Jordan jumped in. "It was nothing serious, I swear. We were just messing around. She's fine. Aren't you, Layla?" Layla didn't respond. Her lips trembled slightly. "Layla?" I repeated, soft but firm. She shook her head slowly. "Can I talk to you alone? In the morning?" My stomach tightened. That wasn't something a carefree girl would ask. That was something a girl asks when she's scared. I nodded. Okay, you'll sleep in the guest room tonight, lock the door. Jordan looked offended. Seriously? You're acting like I did something wrong? I didn't force anything. We're just close. Enough. I cut him off. Go to your room and don't come out until I say. He hesitated, then stormed off, muttering something under his breath. I watched him disappear down the hall, my thoughts spiraling. The house, which once felt like a safe haven, now felt unrecognizable. A silent battleground of broken trust and looming consequences. I lay in bed that night, eyes fixed on the ceiling, thoughts racing. I tried to recall every detail, every word, every look between them in the past few days. Had I missed something? Had I failed them both? Sleep never came, just a rising tide of uncertainty. Tomorrow I would get the truth, but I already feared it might break whatever remained of the family I thought we were. The morning came far too slowly. Sunlight crept in through the blinds, but it did little to warm the chill that had settled over the house. My husband was still asleep, unaware of the storm that had already passed through our home in the night, and the bigger one brewing. I quietly got out of bed, the weight of what I had witnessed pressing heavy on my shoulders. Downstairs, the air felt thick with silence. I made coffee with trembling hands, the sound of the machine strangely loud in the quiet kitchen. My mind replayed the night in brutal clarity. Layla's expression, Jordan's evasiveness, the cold shock of betrayal. Just after 8, Layla entered the kitchen slowly, wrapped in a hoodie, her eyes puffy from a restless night. She sat down without a word. I placed a mug of tea in front of her and sat opposite. You don't have to be afraid, I said gently. I just need to understand what happened. She nodded, still looking down, fingers twisting the edge of her sleeves. It wasn't the first time, she whispered. My breath caught. What do you mean? She paused, gathering the strength to go on. It started 2 weeks ago. The first night I got here, he came into my room, said he was bored, just wanted to talk. I didn't think anything of it, but then he kept coming back. I stayed quiet, letting her speak at her own pace. He started saying things, that we had a connection, that it wasn't wrong if we both liked it. I didn't know how to respond. I was confused. He kissed me one night. I froze. After that, it got worse. My hands clenched in my lap. Last night, I told him I didn't want to anymore. He said I was being dramatic, that I was leading him on. When I tried to leave, he pulled me down. That's when you came out. Tears brimmed in her eyes. I didn't know how to say anything. I didn't want to make things worse. I just wanted the visit to end without problems. You did nothing wrong, I said firmly. None of this is your fault. Her shoulders shook as she cried, and I reached over to hold her hand. I could feel the tremble in her grip, a mixture of shame, fear, and desperate relief. After a while, I stood. He's not getting away with this. Not this time. Layla looked up, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. Will they believe me? I believe you. And that's where we start. For the first time that morning, she nodded. I knew what I had to do next. But it would mean tearing apart the illusion of our family and facing the man I once swore to protect, now the guardian, of a son I barely recognized. The truth had surfaced, and now it had to be reckoned with. The morning air carried a strange stillness, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. I sat at the kitchen table, my fingers wrapped tightly around a steaming cup of coffee I wasn't drinking. The sun outside mocked me with its brightness, trying to illuminate a day that was already clouded in doubt and dread. At 8:06 a.m., Layla appeared in the doorway. She looked small, too small for a girl her age. Her face was pale, and the shadows beneath her eyes told me she hadn't slept at all. She gave me a faint nod before sitting across the table without a word. I took a breath. Are you ready to talk? She hesitated, biting her lower lip, then slowly nodded. Yes. I think I need to. I waited, not rushing her. She stared at her hands for a long time before speaking. I didn't want to come here at first, she said softly. Not because of you or Uncle David, but Jordan. I used to think he was just weird, quiet, kind of moody. But the last time we visited, he made a few comments that made me uncomfortable. I brushed it off. I figured maybe I was overthinking. I kept still, letting her speak without interruption. This time it was different, she continued. He started finding reasons to be near me all the time. He'd linger outside the bathroom, sit way too close when we watched TV. I thought maybe I was imagining it again. Her voice began to shake. But then, one night he came into my room, said he couldn't sleep, that he felt a connection with me. I laughed it off at first, tried to make it light, but he didn't leave. He kept trying to touch me, my hand, my hair. It made my skin crawl. I could feel the nausea building inside me. Layla swallowed hard. It wasn't just flirting. He tried to kiss me. I told him no. He left, but after that, he started finding excuses to be alone with me. I started locking the door. She paused. Last night, I thought he was just trying to talk again. But when he asked me to come outside, I didn't expect him to be so aggressive. I told him to stop. I really did. Tears welled in her eyes. Then you saw us. Thank God you saw us. My heart broke for her. I reached out, placing a hand over hers. You did nothing wrong, Layla. I believe you, and I'm going to protect you. She looked up at me, relief battling with fear in her eyes. What will you do? I'm going to talk to your uncle. Then we're going to do what's right. No more hiding. She nodded slowly. Okay. The calm before the storm was over. It was time to bring the truth into the light, even if it meant watching everything fall apart.